Okay, here we go. So
All right,
those
now
all
I can
look
hear
good.
you.
Videoing, participating.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, great. We're good to go then. Okay, so let me sign in. All right. All right, so we are in ITS148, and let's see what the overview is. Today is the 24th of October. We're gonna start chapter 10. I took out, we don't need to do 10.3. All right, so let's look at the slides, I guess. PowerPoint slides for chapter 10. I'm going to save them down here. Just because. Where did it go? All right, so here we're just working with forms, and you remember this from, I think it was the last chapter in 128 when you remember that assignment where I made it, where you took all your previous assignments and you created one application, and you were able to click, sort of, anyway, that's this chapter. And so let's go over this chapter, how Muroc chooses to present it. Okay, so the objectives of this chapter are, given the specifications for a form, make the form. Given a form with two or more controls, set the tab order. That's not that hard. Given the specifications for an application that displays customer standard dialog boxes, design and code the application. All right. We're going to learn in general terms to be able to describe the use of the controls: combo box, list box, radio button, check box, and group box. They're used for different things. Combo box is it's a drop down. A list box is you can select more than one. Radio button, it's a selecting thing, but you can only select one. Checkbox, you can select more than one. Group box, you group together radio buttons. I explain refactoring. So we're going to look at refactoring again. That's just, that's rewriting code. Describe the way the program class for an application displays the first form of an application. That there's a field in there where, because we're getting into more than one form in an application, we may want to change which form starts up when you start your program. And describe how to use the dialog result enumeration and tag property pass data between form and a custom dialog box. So dialog result enumeration is like, you want to know, like, you pop up a dialog box and then there's, there can be yes, no, or submit, cancel, or whatever, those kind of buttons. And then also, when a new form pops up, it pops up because you create an instance of the object which pops the form up. You can return data, and one way of returning data is using tags. It's just another property. And you can, and the form can, when the form is popped up, it can write into its tag property, and then when it returns to the main form again, you can read the tag property. So anyway, what's next? Okay, here's a form with some different types of controls. Okay, so we have radio buttons, and this is a group box, and it's got all the radio buttons in here, and you can only click on one. It's kind of like the radios, like a radio in your car with push buttons. When you press a button down, or you can't press two buttons down at the same time. This is a list box here. You choose a credit card, and you notice they're all listed there. This list box, you can only select one, but you can set it so you can select more than one. But in this case, it wouldn't make sense to select more than one. You're only going to pay with one credit card. This is a text box. So these are combo boxes, drop-down menus. We call them on web forms. This is a checkbox, and this is a button, and these are two controls, two buttons here. Common members of the list box and combo box controls. These are members of the class, and these are properties. A selected item, there's like a list box or a combo box. There's like the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. It starts with 0. That's the index. The item is actually the words that you see on it, or it could be it could be the words that you see on it. Could be there could be a value field and a displayed field. Text is probably the display value, the display text for that selection. I guess you sort it. There's items. There's a bunch of. It's a collection. It's the different items in the list box or control or combo box. It's a collection of items. Drop-down style is probably a style of. We'll see what that is. And selection mode probably means whether you can select more than one. These are events. The index changed, and someone fiddled with your thing and changed the selected index, or the text changed. Common properties of items collection. There's an index and a count. Common methods of an items collection. These are like the combo box and the list box and so on. You can add selections, insert in between, remove ones, remove at, so on. Clear them all out. This is example of code that loads a combo box with months. So here we've declared an array, a string array of months. Wait a second. Okay, this is a string array for all of the items in the combo box. The 0th item is going to be this select a month, and it'll default to that. And then the first item, that's the 0th item. The first item is January, February, March, all the way up to December. And this is how you load them in. You have this CBO, short for combo box, CBO. And we're going to call it expiration month. And we're going to add items to the combo box. And what we're going to do is we're going to loop months for each month. In months, we're going to add the month, which is either going to be, this is the 0th, the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, all the way up to the 12th. So that's how you load it up. example of how you load it up. And here is an example of how you might load a year, a drop down with years. You might start with this year, the year of today. You might start with the year, the date time. It's the date time right now. Today, year. Oh, a date time. Oh, it's a date time static class. It's a date time class. It's the today property of the date time class, and we want the year field of the today of today. So anyway, it's going to be year, and then we might go from this year to 8 more years, and then so you loop. You do this loop here, and you can loop. You know, each time adding the year value into this combo box, collection of items with the years. Oh, the first one they put in is select a year. This is the 0th one. The first one would be like 2019, and the next one would be 2020, and so on. And code that clears and loads a list box of credit cards. Okay, so this is how you clear a list. Let's say you got this list box. Okay, list box. List box is this thing here, credit cards. This is the select a month, the select a year. Okay, we're doing here. And so we're doing this one. First, we're going to clear it out. We didn't clear out those other ones, but but you do it the same way. You clear the items, you clear the collection, and then you can pop in Visa, pop in MasterCard, pop in American Express, and this sets it so you're selecting Visa, I guess. Just like this, Visa is selected. So once the so when the program is running and a user has set some of these things, just a minute, I just got to check something here. All right, just want to make sure I'm recording. Okay, so the user has set some stuff, clicked on a submit button or whatever, and you want to grab the information out. Well, if you want to find out the selected index of the year, you do it this way. And so this is going to be just 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If it's 0, the person did not select a year because it's still sitting on the select a year, text. But if the selected index is 1 or above, then the user has selected a year. This should get the year. This should get what the year is. It's the text that's displayed. I will have to look. When we start writing some code, I think maybe this might be the year. I'm not sure what this text is. We'll have to see what it is. But with combo boxes and list boxes, there's usually the index, which is simply a number between 0 and however many there are. There is a field that's displayed, and that's different than the field that contains a value. You might, let's see, what's an example? You might decide that, here you just use a selected index, but let's say here the selected index is the same as the selected month, but let's say that for the selected month, you really wanted to code the months by the 3-letter codes, like JAN FEBMAR APR, and that's how you wanted it to go in to the database, let's say. But when the user is selecting, you want to display out the full word. So in that case, this would have an index, it would have a value field, and it would have a text field. So we will see how these the difference between the text field and the selected item field. I'm quite sure the selected item is the year though. And for months, here we're taking the value. You see, this is the value is the month. Okay, it's items to string. Okay, we're gonna have to see how that works out too. All right, a code that works with combo box of names. Okay, so we have a combo box of names here, or we have an array, these three names, and we load them up into the into this names, whatever it is. It's a combo box. This thing is going to insert this guy Joel Murrock at location 0, and this is going to remove the last one, which I presume will be 0, 1, 2, 3, Kelly. And here, don't select an item. So if you set selected index to -1, then none of these are selected. Not one of these is selected. So group box is something where you want to group together a bunch of radio buttons, 2 or more, they have common property of radio button and checkbox controls. If you don't put radio buttons in a group box, then all of the radio buttons on the form will all be of the same group. So this is a property of a radio button. You want to see if it's checked or not, and then when it changes, this is an event. So this is code that that will set the value of a radio button and a checkbox. So this is with this one, you've got a radio button RDO, and if you set the checked property to true, then that radio button will appear selected on the form. Same with this one. It'll be X'd. Code that checks the value of the radio button. So here's like an event handler for somebody clicking on a radio button. So somebody is selecting a credit card. So they click on it. This event triggers, this particular event right here triggers, and so this thing executes. So the first thing that happens is you want to see I'm not sure how this code is supposed to work. Oh, if the credit card is checked, if this is billing, so the person's either going to pay by a credit card, or you're going to send the customer an invoice or send them a bill. And so what this is if the credit card radio button is checked, I see what this is. I thought we were selecting a credit card here, but no, that's not what we're doing. We are just seeing if this radio button, the singular radio button, which we are calling credit card, like RDO credit card, and so if either one of these is checked, if either one of these radio buttons is checked, because changes from either a checked to state to an unchecked or unchecked to checked, then this event is triggered. And when this event is triggered, this is going to look to see if it was the credit card that was checked. If it's true, then it'll enable these the controls that ask you for your credit card information. Otherwise, it disables the controls that asks you for the credit card information. And so, and this is just going to be a private method somewhere, which will it'll enable like this, and then this. You know. All right, so so this by the way is setting the tab order. This is kind of how you'd want the tab order before and after the tab order is changed. It might look something like this, but you want it to look like this, where you start out by, I'm not sure, but you know, you want to think it out. You select the credit card type. Oh, it's either going to be before and after the tab order change. Well, anyway, we'll see how to do that. How to use a tab order. How to use tab order view. This is how you put it in tab order view. This is tab order view, so you can see. I've never used this before, so you can actually see what the tab order is, and so that way you know how you have to change it. So this tells you how to do that. Starting with 0 for the first control, and you click same control more than once, and it increases by 1 each time you click, and so on. So you can experiment with that, try it out. This is the date time picker control. This is for picking a date and a time. It's a special control that helps you do that. This is how you add a new item, a new dialog box. You add a new item. You add a new item, and then you select what you want to add. And you can, sometimes you want to add another class or whatever. But in this case, we're seeing how to actually add another Windows form. It's going to be a .cs file because it's a class. It's a form type class, and a form type class has got two files. It's got the file with the code in it, and it's got the file, the designer.cs file, which says where all of the controls are and the kinds of controls that are on the form. So to add a new form, you display the Add New Item dialog box by selecting Project Add New Item, or you can do it this other way, and you just select it this way and type in a name and click Add. And it's a class, so to make it pop up, you just create a variable of that type of that class, and new, and then you just show it, and it displays up, and when it's done, when it's closed, it returns. So this is the code that's generated when you create a new form. So in this example, we're creating a new form called form payment, and that's going to pop up and ask payment information or something if someone clicks the right thing. And so this is there's a payment.cs file, and this is where all your code is. It's going to be down in here, right down here. And then there's the designer.cs file, which you never really have to see, but you can look at it if you want to. And if you hand it in, I want you to hand this in. I want you to attach it, and that's how I look to see if you have a form with controls, with some controls on it and so on. And so that looks like this, and then it just says where all the controls are and the types they are and so on. And so and then if you double click on the form, then the event handler code for the event handler pops up, and this a blank method here event handler method appears and you're able to enter in the code. And this is the code that ends up being produced in the designer.cs file, but you never have to do anything with this, okay? I disagree with this textbook even talking about this, because because you get the impression that you have to do something here, and you don't. You can just look in the connect it all up, double click on the form. This is going to appear in your .cs file, and in your and in your designer.cs file, this is going to appear, but you never have to look at this. You do have to look at this, because this is where you enter in your code to handle the event, but you never have to look at this. And so here it is. We've created this new project. Oh, here's an example of a project that contains two forms. It's got the customer form, customer name form, which is what we're looking at right now. This is for when I guess when you bill the customer or something. I don't know. So you're going to select a customer name, and there's two forms here. There's the customer form customer, and then there's this payment. Let's see what that looks like. This talks about how to change the name of a form. You just right-click on the Solution Explorer, and you select rename, and then you type in the new name, and then and then it's going to ask you if you want to rename all the references and everything. And in most cases, you'll want to do that. And if you want to change the name of any of the event handlers, highlight the name of the form in the method that's used by the event handler, and then right-click to change the name, choose rename. So that's how you can do that. Here's code. Here's the code that defines the main entry point for an application, and this is in the program.cs file. And there's a place in there where it says program blah blah application run, and this is the starting form right here. In this case, it's form customer. And it creates a new instance of that. This form customer. So this is the first thing that pops up. And okay, let's see. Form customer. Doesn't show that. Well, this is form payment, and this is so anyway, yeah. So this is how you reference it by this. All right. So in this case, the customer form appears first, and which one appears first? Oh, the customer form appears first, and then I guess when you select payment, oh look at that. You click on select payment, I guess, and then this thing pops up. Properties for creating custom dialog boxes. Control box, minimum size, maximum size. Code that creates and displays a custom dialog box. This is it. You say it's a form, and you want to just so this is how you create and display up this. So this is going to display up the form payment. Okay, it's not the customer box. We're running inside this one, and they clicked on select payment or something, and then we want this thing to pop up. Okay, the way we do that is we say this. The type of the variable is called payment form, and what type of variable is it? It's of the form class. It's a form class variable, and the one we want to make is form FRM payment, which is comes from here, FRM payment, or something here, FRM payment, and it's in the form payment.cs file, which we saw back up here, which is, so we see this thing, it's got two, and then, so once it's declared, this thing declares it. This first line, this form, payment form equals, this thing, it declares this object, and then this thing executes this method, which is to make it appear, pop up on the screen right before your eyes, and so you're able to, the user's able to interact with it. And once the user closes the dialog box or responds to it or whatever, then it continues executing down here. You're able to say what buttons you want at the bottom of the dialog box. These are some different buttons that you can say, and you'll see how those work. And then this tag property is a property it's a way for the form, this tag property of a form, of an object, form class object. It's that field, and you're able to the tag property is able to reference any object type, so you can put anything in there, and even something that you define yourself. So it doesn't need to be just a variable. It doesn't need to be just an integer or something, or a string. It can be an entire object. It can be a list. It can hold any type of data. So here's a statement that sets the dialog result property of the form. So this is code that uses the results of the dialog box. Okay, so this dialog result, okay, so here we create a new instance of this payment form, and we say that the dialog result select button, where is that? Payment form, we declare, here we go. All right. Okay, so this is slide number 28. This is slide number 26. So here we're just popping up the dialog box, and all we're doing is we're executing this method. This method, which is a member of this payment form object, and this payment form object is a member of the form class. It's a form class, and the form classes have, or objects of the form class have this method available to it. So this just displays it up, but when we do it this way, instead of just doing this, instead of just saying this, we say that we say it this way. we define a dialog result object, and we're going to call it selected button, and that's equal to something that's returned here from this from the show dialog of the payment form. And this selected button type dialog, this was defined up here. So this is so basically all that's going to appear there is an OK button. And so here we test if the selected button that was returned is OK, then we do something. How to use the dialog result enumeration. So the dialog result enumeration provides members that represent their values that the dialog box can return. Show a dialog method returns a member of this enumeration. You specify the result value of a custom dialog box by setting the dialog result property. You can set it, or you can set the dialog result property of a button in the dialog box. Then the user clicks on the button, the dialog property of the form is set accordingly. You can set a cancel button property and automatically cancel. You can so anyway, it's easy to find examples of how these things work. This is how you use the tag property. You have to explicitly cast it because it can be of any kind of object. So so this is a syntax for the show method of a message box class, and this is how you say what the buttons. There's the text. So we know just about text and caption. Text is what's displayed out as a message. Caption is the title bar up at the top of the message box. But then there's other parameters you can add too, which are optional, which is why there's square brackets here. And one of them is buttons. And so these are the kinds of message box buttons you can have. You can have OK. You can have OK and then cancel. You can have yes and no. You can have yes, no, cancel. You can have abort, retry, ignore. For the message box icon, that's like in the upper right-hand corner or upper left-hand corner of the message box. It could be like this error warning thing. It could be exclamation point. It could be a question mark. It could be an asterisk. It could be a stop hand or whatever. And here you can message box default button. So there's going to be from 1 to 3 buttons available. Like this one, abort retry is 3. And so you just say which one it is by using button 1, button 2, or button 3. And this is what comes back. One of these is going to come back. So here's an example. You're going to say message box buttons yes, no, because you want to have a yes button and a no button. Oh, and you want the default to be button 2, so that's why it's button 2, which is why this one looks like it's defaulted if you just hit the enter key. You want to have a question mark, so that's this thing here. That's where that goes. And then the message is, are you sure you want to save this data? So that's right there. Are you sure you want to save this data? And then the caption payment is right up here, right up the upper corner, right there. And then this is going to come back button. I'm from Minnesota. I say button. From Hawaii, you say button. And so here you're checking to see if it was yes. If it's yes, you save the data, whatever. Do you want to save the data? Code for a dialog box that cancels the closing event. So cancels the close, so you don't want it to close. So if data saved is false, then this form contains unsaved data. Do you want to save it? And you want to send this out yes, no, cancel. And with a warning little icon, and the button is yes, and the data is valid, then you save it. Otherwise, you cancel it. E is going to be what's returned here. See this form closing event args E. So you're setting cancel equal to true. Also, if they click cancel, it sets cancel equal to true. So this will return. You pass this information back up. So this is the dialog box as displayed. Got 3 buttons there. This is the customer form. After they've entered in all the data. 2 versions of the payment dialog box. When you click on credit card, this thing all shows. And when you click on bill customer, these are all faded out. They're all disabled. Property settings for the customer form, form 1. So this is the heading. I think this leads us into doing what the exercise in the back of the chapter. So it tells you this book is nice. This is how you should define stuff. Okay, we've you know, in the form 1, in the main form, we have to set. These are the things we have to set. We have to set the name field. We have to set the text field, which is up at the top. We have to set what the cancel button is. We want that to be what the action is. Start position of the where the form appears. It's got a combo box, and we're going to rename it to CBO names. It says what the drop-down style is. We add another label, and we're gonna name it LBL payment because we're gonna write to it. Have a border style. We're not gonna have automatic sizing, and what the text is, it's not gonna have anything in it until we write to it, and we can access it because we've named it. And then we add some buttons here, and this is what we name them. And this for the payment form, it's going to be another form, and we're going to name them. We're going to set these properties, what we see here. We're going to throw a group box on there, and across the top of the group box, it's going to say billing. And then we're going to put these 2 radio buttons inside the group box, and we're going to name them. One is RDO credit card, and the other one is RDO bill customer. And we're going to set the check to credit card equal to true. We're going to add a list box, and we're going to name it that LST customer credit card type. We're going to add a text box, and we're going to name it credit card number. And we're going to the property settings for the payment form. These are the these are more controls. There's going to be a combo box, 3 combo. Yeah, 2 combo boxes. One for the expiration month, one for the expiration year. A checkbox, which is what you can set as the default payment for next time. And then a couple of buttons here. One that says BT, one's OK, and one that says cancel. We should also probably fill in text for these, because I notice we aren't putting any of the text properties in here. Really, we don't put any text properties. Okay, we got to add those. And then here's the code for this customer form, and this is a good exercise for us to go through. I'm going to try to finish today at 4:15 because I have to go someplace. So here's the code for the customer form. This is the customer form. We've got a variable called isDataSaved, And this is the load event handler, and we load up our customers, and then we if the data is if the data changes, then we want to set is data saved default. See if it starts out being true, and then if it changes, it's going to be set equal to false. This is selected. If you click on the selected payment, it's either going to be select payment, click. Here your this pops up the selected payment form. That's what this does. Creates a new instance of this payment form called form payment, and then it pops it up, dialog result box, and if it came back and was okay, it's going to say what the payment type was, which is going to be written in the tag of this form when it comes back. So that'll be written in this label payment. Button, somebody clicks on the save button, it's going to save the data. There's a method there to do that. Code for the customer form, project still, customer form still. This is the save the data. I'm not sure, this doesn't really do anything. This is checks to see if the data is valid. When you're entering stuff in, you must enter a payment if the label doesn't come back, if the payment doesn't come back with any text, or if the user didn't select the payment type. And form customer, this is closing. If it's when you're closing, when you try to close the form, this thing executes. This is an event handler. Checks to see if there's unsaved data. If there's unsaved data, it comes up and asks you if you want to save it. And if you cancel, then it's going to cancel the closing of the form. That's pretty clever, isn't it? And so that's that. Let's see. The payment form, similar code here. First thing we do when we load up the form, we load up the credit card types, set the selected index to 0, load up the month. We have to do all this. Load up the months, load up the years, and set this loads up the years. This is this is an event handler for if they set it for after they're done filling it out. You want to save the data. This is for the kind of credit card, checking the credit card number goes in there. Code for the payment form. So you can the assignment is similar to this kind of code. So we're filling in these radio buttons, filling in these list boxes, filling in these combo boxes, and so on, and creating instances of new forms. And so we're going to be doing. These are exercises that are in the back of the book. Okay, so but what we're going to do is we're not going to do this. Oh yes, we are going to do this convert move. We're going to do this one, exercise 10-1 and exercise 10-2. For exercise 10-1, we're converting a bunch of things, and I ask you. I also have you convert from meters to yards and yards to meters to feet and so on. And so this is a little conversion thing that you're going to make. You're going to program this. And then the second exercise is going to be this processing lunch orders thing. And the idea is that you click on a main course, and when you click on a main course, the add-on items change. So for a hamburger, it's these add-on items are available. For pizza, there's different pizza toppings available. And for salad, there's stuff you can add into salads. And so when you do this, you check all this stuff, and you're supposed to generate a subtotal. And the tax, I ask you to change the tax to Oahu GET. I give you that number, and you total it up. So that's the exercise. And so Tuesday we will we'll probably have time to buzz through both of these programs because they're not very difficult. All right. So are we still recording? Yes. And so how you doing? Did you have any questions, Rain?
No, I don't have any questions.
What's that?
Nope.
No questions. Okay. All right. How about you, Mr. Killam? All right. So I guess that's it for today. And I will see you. Thank you for handing in all of your work. And I will see you next week on Tuesday.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Thanks for watching.
Have a nice one.
You too. Bye.